It's Friday morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Candice Mama. What a way to wake up.
Oh, good morning, Gareth Cliff. It's always good to see you.
You look fantastic. Where have you been?
I just got in. No, I'm kidding. I always have to dress up.
No, I love
for
it.
you, for you.
But if you said you just crawled in now, I'd be like, sure, partying hard in Cape Town. Huh? Wow.
Yes, I just crawled in from SONA, the after party. So
yeah, right, exactly. Did they disrupt traffic and ruin everybody's day yesterday?
Well, because I live a road down from the president, and there's only, there are a few roads in Cape Town. And so there were helicopters. That's how I knew that the president was about to go to SONA. So they have these massive military helicopters where if you look, you can actually see two men just sitting with rifles. And I'm like, who's trying to kill Cyril? I mean, rest his, life. I don't get it.
No, I think you're right. He's not even important enough for anyone to want to kill at this point, right?
I mean, I just don't get it. And so the helicopters were out, and then 10, I know, I counted, I've got no life, 10 armored vehicles were just driving down with the police. So,
it's funny. So we don't do politics on a Friday. We try to avoid it, but I think it's almost impossible after last night's absolute clusterfuck of a SONA for us to not just at least refer to this. And I even made some notes about it because I was so pissed off. I didn't watch it. I had things to do, like, I don't know, feed the dog and mop my kitchen floor, which is more important than listening to an out-of-touch politician like our president telling us just outright lies. I mean, it was unbelievable. There were people sitting in the room who were shaking their heads and going, and he thought it was, because he's so out of touch. I mean, like, he's talking about private healthcare and how actually the state's healthcare is even better. He was talking about how they're going to sort out Eskom. They've had all these successes. I mean, there were parties that came out of parliament last night, and I'm afraid we've got to the stage in this country where we can't even be honest about dishonesty. It's got that bad, right? It's become like we have to deal with dishonesty with like absolute shock and horror, because there's just no way to put up with it. It's like the guy was performing a script, and you've been an actress, so you can talk about this. He was like performing a script that nobody could relate to, and it's because he lives in. He's a billionaire. He lives in he doesn't even live in state housing because the government, the president's houses are not good enough for him. So he lives in his houses and then pops into those when he has to have meetings and things. It pretends he's been there the whole time. He drives in blue light brigades. He flies around in helicopters and jets at our expense, by the way, despite the fact that he's a billionaire. He travels all over the world. He meets with other leaders who pretend that he's a real leader. And he's just so out of touch that when he talks in parliament and he lies, we just sit there going, are you even in the same country that the rest of us are in? I mean, if you were a poor person in South Africa who was walking to work this morning, right, to catch 3 taxis to get to where you need to go, to do a job which pays you the same as it did 5 years ago, but you're getting less for that money because transport's gone up and food's gone up and everything. I wonder how you would feel watching this unbelievably disconnected human being telling you stuff that just isn't true, and imagining that we're all just going to go, right?
I don't know what's happening, Gareth. Whether South Africans have become so despondent to everything that the president says, because to me, I think there's such an interesting contradiction between he's a good feel, like he's kind of like Zuma in some ways, where he makes you feel good.
He's not even as charming.
Like
he's not
guy, but he comes across like a nice guy.
He comes across as a joke. He does. You say, Jacob Zuma. At least when Jacob Zuma, when Zuma lied to us, we he was charming about it. He had a way of bringing some personality to bear. I mean, when JJ Tabane started his show last night, and I'm gonna play this for you because it's the only way that you can kind of get a feeling for the average. And JJ often hits the mark. He doesn't mince his words. He kind of understands how most South Africans feel. I'm just going to play you this clip quickly because this is how he started his show after the State of the Nation address last night. I mean, like everything he says here, and it's a short clip, it's 20 seconds, but he says everything that I think you and I and all the rest of South Africa probably feel. You can't do it better than this. So here he is, the inimitable JJ Tabane on his show last night. Take a look, and you want to weep. You want to cry softly into your pillow as you try to wake up this morning. Look at this.
Cyril Ramaphosa, I got a lot of time for him, as you may by now know, but he can lie to you with a straight face. He can lie to you with a straight nose.
It's about right. That's him.
What, Gareth? I think the thing is, Cyril is he's likable in the sense that we had.
I don't know where you get this. I don't know where you get this likable thing, because it's I've never met a person who said to me, "Oh, you know what? I cannot wait to spend more time with Cyril Ramaphosa." I've never met anyone who said that.
No, in the sense that we had such a polarizing president like Jacob Zuma, right? He wasn't everyone's cup of tea. Some people loved him, some people completely found him deplorable. Whereas Cyril came in as a middle ground of some kind. In the beginning, so many people were rooting for him, so many people liked him. And all of a sudden, as the pandemic started to happen, he dropped his veneer quite a bit. And the biggest part of that was him showing us that he doesn't really want the job, if we're being quite honest.
He doesn't give a shit.
He never answered any questions. He never gave us any solutions. And he would just lie all the time. Like, this lying thing is not now because we're going into elections. He's always just lied. And instead, what he does with his free time is he calls South African celebrities who are making it overseas, and he films himself on a phone call with Trevor Noah and Tyler.
How do you like that? I mean, that is the only time we actually see him, right? Is when he's doing that shit.
Exactly. I think he wanted to be a celebrity. I don't think he wanted to be a president. And I think he just got fame through presidency, and he was like, well, let's see what I can do with this. So he's performing his biggest acting role, and he's failing, but he's performing.
Well, that's coming from an actor, so you would know what you're seeing. I just feel like, this guy he's so amateurish. He's like he's someone who's cosplaying president. You know what I mean? Like, he gets dressed, and I don't even know what he does 6 days out of 7. I mean, at least with the State of the Nation, you know what he's up to, because the rest of the time, I think he's, I don't know, wandering around his garden, or having tea with somebody which has nothing to do with the state. I don't know what he's doing.
I don't think any of us do, Gareth. I think all of us are confused. We hear through other people, like I'm saying, with your Trevor Noahs and your Tylers, where Trevor had told a story about being invited to Cyril's house and, hanging out, and they were having a great time. And not that I don't like this for Trevor, love this for him, but I think that it does take away what the president is there to do, right? He's there to serve the people, not become a celebrity.
Shit? I mean, honestly, who gives a shit about a celebrity? And bless Trevor, who needs to spend time with a president whose entire history will have 2 lines about Cyril Ramaphosa. He came in after Jacob Zuma. We can't really tell you anything about what he did because there's nothing. He didn't do anything. There's 0 on his copybook. If you had to write down a history of the reign of Cyril Ramaphosa, it would be a page, maybe 3 sentences, and then that he eventually brought the ANC to its lowest numbers in recorded history at the polls. That's all you can say about him. That's all.
I think it's both Cyril and the ANC, right? We're going into election season. And what annoys me the most is just that the Democratic Alliance, we all know it's our strongest competing party against the ANC. And they constantly just letting their dirty laundry out. And they're letting it hang for the world to see. And that
Well,
also doesn't inspire votes.
yeah,
for
look, I mean, this is why we
right?
don't do politics on a Friday, but
Exactly.
I'm so tired of, and I really just wanted to talk shit with you, which we will do in a minute. But I'm so sick of people having a double standard. Like the DA must be held to this standard, and the ANC, if they do one good thing out of 1,000, and we're all, oh, it's so well done. It's like a retarded child finally manages to put one block on top of the other one, and we're all like, Hercules, Hercules. But if you're perfectly adult, sensible university graduate child manages to get and hold down a job for 6 years, we're like, yeah, but there was that one time you didn't take out the laundry. That's kind of how we are with the DA. It's because deep down inside we have given in to something which I call the soft bigotry of low expectations, and it's a real thing with the ANC. It's a real thing. Anyway, we'll leave it alone. Vyasan does say something that I think is so true. He's not supposed to be a nice guy. He's supposed to be a president. And this is the point, right? So everybody's talking this morning about the Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin, which apparently has had 27 times the audience that MSNBC is able to pull on their biggest shows. Let me just double check that so I don't give you fake figures here. 27 times MSNBC's primetime viewership in one interview. And what's amazing about this is that we were told by everyone, including crooked Hillary Clinton yesterday, that the last thing you should do is bother watching Tucker Carlson because he's just a stooge and he's basically a terrorist. And the fact that he is interviewing Vladimir Putin means he should be considered a traitor and not be let back into the United States. That's what Hillary Clinton, let's remember, the woman who caused the death directly of a couple of hundred US citizens in Libya, in Benghazi. Let's just remember, this is what she says. A woman who, frankly, should be declared public enemy number one is calling a broadcaster and a journalist a traitor. It's just unbelievable. And then she tells us, don't worry, no one will watch anyway. Well, Hillary couldn't be more wrong. As we said, 27 times MSNBC's primetime viewership and the biggest audience ever for an interview on social media. People just curious because there's this guy, Vladimir Putin, who we've all been told is the most evil guy in the world. And he may well be, right? And they just won't let us hear from him. We don't get Russia Today, I think it was RT. We don't get that on our DSTV bouquet anymore here in South Africa. In America, they've completely blocked all Russian news agencies. You cannot hear anything from their side of the story. I just received a book on my desk today. I actually took a picture of it. And this came in today from Simon Schuster, the famous magazine correspondent. Here's the book they've just sent me. It's called The Showman, the inside story of the invasion that shook the world and made a leader of Volodymyr Zelensky. So this is the kind of propaganda that we're subject to on a daily basis about Ukraine. We never hear the other side. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Russia is necessarily the best actor on the world stage, but they are, and Vladimir Putin is, a master of realpolitik. And unlike Cyril Ramaphosa and Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau and, all these pathetic cosplaying actors that pretend that they're world leaders, this guy actually is a hardcore motherfucker. He is, without a doubt, I mean, he took out that guy who was in charge of the Wagner group like that. He couldn't care less. He is a practicing member of the Realpolitik Club. And I just watch this stuff and I think all these other guys are just such amateurs, right? And here is Tucker Carlson interviewing this guy, and people are trying to say, oh, no, you shouldn't talk to him like he's some kind of virus. You're gonna catch feelings if you watch it. I think we should be paying attention to this guy. Secretly, behind the scenes, he has been manipulating all kinds of stuff. And we should know what's going on in his head. And the best way to do that is to get someone who's from our part of the world, speaks English, to go and sit opposite this dude and ask him tough questions, which is precisely what happened. How could that be bad?
I couldn't say it better myself, Gareth. And I think the one thing that
Thanks.
becomes very well, no, because the one thing that
I feel like I feel like I went on a total rant there, but okay.
You did.
Thanks.
You did, but I think it represents what most people listening to the show would think, which is America's been this big proponent of free speech, right? Like the world needs free speech, the world needs free speech, until the past few years, where it was like, no, we get to dictate what free speech looks like. And not only do we get to dictate it, but you get to be punished for practicing any form of free speech that doesn't stand on the line of hate speech, because that's what the big algorithms have been doing, that any question, any bit of curiosity is now hate speech. And to me, I agree that we need to hear from Putin. I don't want him lurking in the shadows and like coming out, when I least expect him. Let's see what his thinking is. Let's see where he's headed, and maybe get an ounce of what his plans are, because right now the man's moving in the shadows. We've just been like,
you just hit on the subject of free speech, which always comes up. And you get these people who when you and I talk about free speech like we are now, they come at you with this, oh no, but you can't be a free speech absolutist. And that's not what we're saying. We're not saying that it should be free speech no matter what, including consequences. Of course, there are consequences to free speech. But the fact that there are people in this world, Candice, who want to prevent you and me and the people who listen to this show from hearing things that they don't think we're adult enough to handle. They're like, no, let us decide for you what you should hear and who you should hear from. Because God forbid you should make that decision for yourself, right? That irritates the hell out of me. And by the way, to prove our point this morning about Cyril, a little bit earlier, and how out of touch he is, Sandile says, yay, stage 4. So Carol Jean also saying, stage 4 blackouts have just been announced. Cyril the liar. So they managed to keep load shedding below stage 4 just until the speech, and they just couldn't keep it together for an extra day or two. They were like, okay, well, the speech is done. Just hit that button, because they cannot manage a piss up in a brewery.
Well, the timing is comedic. You've got to hand it to them. Like, there's so few things that we get right, but when we do, you just can't help but think if we're living in a parody. Sometimes I feel like our country's just this big, long parody, and I'm waiting for someone to pull scene and be like, oh, you were all in the Truman Show. Don't worry, it's going back to normal. But it's just constant rolling of disaster after disaster.
Sanela says, oh, the Gareth Cliff show's on Spaces. Interesting. Yeah, we've been streaming. So we stream this show on YouTube, Facebook, and X, and then obviously on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, everywhere else. And you can listen to it whichever way you prefer, but we're on all of them. And I think that that's probably the sensible thing. Then you can get to choose how you prefer to listen to us or watch. Tatra says, global politics is a kindergarten. Yeah, it is. It feels like what do they say? The lunatics are in charge of the asylum, right?
That's really what's happening here. And around the world, because I mean, we look at America and it's not exactly the best place to run to at the moment. So Cyril is bad.
Did you hear Cyril? So I don't know if you even watched the SONA or not last night, and I wouldn't blame anybody who didn't watch it. I didn't. But I did hear, because again, there are all these clips on social media afterwards. I heard him saying that there's trillions of dollars that are poured into the country in investment. He actually said that. He said like something around the in the range of like $3 trillion, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I have to ask you, with tears in my eyes, where did that $3 trillion go? Like, show me which part of South Africa's economy was suddenly boosted with $3 trillion in international investment. How can you lie with a straight face, as JJ Tabane says, on television with the whole country supposed to be paying attention to you, even if we're not? How can you lie? And then people are sending me messages going, is there a State of the Nation drinking game? Because we did that. Right. We did
I
that.
think we'd all have woken up drunk. No.
When I introduced the State of the Nation drinking game, it was Jacob Zuma's first term, and we had lots of fun with it because every time he said certain words, or every time he went and pushed up his glasses with his middle finger, and every time he said absolutely, and every time that he laughed, we would all have to take a drink, and people were drunk 5 minutes in. And in fact, the president even acknowledged that we were playing that game, because he, in the beginning of his speech the one year, he did all of those things and then went, like he knew what was going on. And I knew that he knew because his spokesperson had told me. But I don't want to play that game with the current president, because I don't think he's funny. A. B, I think the country's in a way worse condition than it's ever been in. And that's saying something, because, people, again, they like to blame Jacob Zuma for everything. But this guy has been, it's almost as if he, on purpose, someone has given him like a secret directive. His directive is to play the president of South Africa, but his secret directive is to make things as bad as possible. It's the only way I could understand it, right?
Well, the reason I said why would he announce 3 trillion when he knows it's going to disappear and he knows we're going to ask questions? Like, it never makes sense to me, because money comes into the country all the time. No South African is under the delusion that no one's investing in the country. What we do want to know is, where is the money going? Because it's clearly not going to textbooks. It's not going to fixing the roads. It's not going to crime prevention. No. It's not going into the infrastructure of home affairs. Like, where's it going?
But even the question, like, if there is investment or not, I don't believe that there's that much investment coming into the country. I don't even think it's a tenth of what he said in his speech, because the main reason people would invest in a country is because they know there's stability. The last thing investors want is instability. And this guy cannot guarantee stability at all. By the way, you look so great in that lighting, I just have to say. Look at this.
Thank you, Gareth.
What a vision.
Well, the sun is rising. So it's not me, it's the sun. The sun's doing its thing. Sun shines on you. Listen, I didn't mean to bring you on here. And for 24 minutes shit all over our conversation with politics, but here we are. All right, so I've got to ask you, by the way, you've got off Twitter. I did. And you know what? It was before everyone started dumping on Elon Musk. I do not have issues with Elon. But the truth is, I do have issues with the people that tend to be on Twitter. I was so sick of not being able to control the algorithm of the kind of information I was being fed. And just people say the craziest things with no account or responsibility. And when the person they're saying it about, says, well, this isn't true because this is true, all they have to do is just delete the tweet and move on with their life. So that's why I left Twitter, not because of any like moral thing.
Okay.
It was just,
I'm curious annoyed. because Ryan said to me he wanted to add your Twitter kind of handle to this, and then you said to him, I'm not on there anymore. Don't waste your time. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't a morally righteous thing to do. It was just I couldn't handle it anymore.
Oh, so listen, the other thing is, I had a conversation just this week with someone about Ozempic. He's a doctor, a friend of mine, and everybody, I know 4 people who are already on this stuff and have been for a while. They tell me the results are stupendous. They look good, so clearly they're not making it up. But Ozempic, for those people who don't know, it's diabetic medicine essentially. But people take the little pen and give themselves the injection. I think it's once a day for X number of days or whatever. It costs a lot. It's like I think it's $5,000 for
3,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, it's expensive. So it's this started in Hollywood, by the way. It started maybe a year and a half ago. First time I'd heard about it. All these celebrities were on it because it suppresses the appetite. And people are just losing weight hand over fist. So everybody swears by it. We still don't know entirely what the side effects may be because it's still quite new. And we know it's been used as a diabetic medicine. So there's a danger always that you could upset the balance of that system the pancreas and what it does. But I think this is worth discussing because everybody who knows anything about weight loss, Ozempic, anything else is talking about this 24/7. I've had 3 conversations just this week about it.
Yeah, I've got 2 viewpoints on Ozempic. So the first one is I understand I'm not the one to talk about, losing weight, considering that I was born skinny. So I don't know the struggle
You're
of having to
lucky.
lose weight.
This was not an
Don't cry for
opportunity
me,
for you.
Argentina.
This was not an opportunity for you to make us all feel fat, all right?
No, this is just a disclaimer so that no one thinks I'm judging them for how hard the journey of losing weight is. But the truth is, I just think that what's happening is a lot of diabetics have come out who actually need Ozempic, and they've spoken about how the prices soar through the roof and it's becoming unaffordable for so many people that need the drug. And also it's starting to run out, Gareth. So they are not giving enough Ozempic for the people who want to lose weight and those who actually need it for survival. And I do think that a part of me I'm not good with the fact that people are just injecting themselves with something that's supposed to cure one thing in order for, vanity's sake to look a certain way. So I don't know. People might not like my opinion on Ozempic, but I don't think it's the get them quick scheme that people are selling us. The pharmaceutical industry benefiting, and Oprah benefited because she said she was on Ozempic. Oprah's been lying to us. And she was like, no, losing weight the natural way. No, Oprah, you're on Ozempic. So she's on Ozempic.
Let me tell you, I blame Oprah for a lot of things. I don't think that she's incarnate evil or anything, but I think there are 2 major things that Oprah's always lied about. Number one is this bullshit that she's fed to stupid people, that you can be anything. If you dream it, you can be it. Your best is good enough. That sort of stuff. I really think that that's done enormous damage to people because I have to go around doing damage control for Oprah by telling people, no, you can't be this, you can't do that, you just don't have you can't. It's not possible. We've been misled. She's made us all midwits as a result of this nonsense of if you can see it, you can achieve it. And remember, Oprah is a tremendously successful and brilliant businesswoman in her own right. I will never take that away from her. But the fact that she lies to ordinary, unimpressive people, makes them think that they have a chance at being like her, is just it's deceitful. So it's no different to Cyril standing up there and lying. So that's the one thing. The other thing we'll just leave for the moment. But Ozempic, don't you think this is always what happens? Is like if rich people can afford to shortcut something, they will. And this started off with Hollywood and rich people, and they found as a side effect, as a byproduct of this diabetic medicine, that it also helped people lose weight really quickly. I say go for it. If there's a market for this and people want to try it and they want to take the risk, I don't have a problem. I mean, of course, you can lose weight naturally. You can also go to gym and build muscle naturally. But there are a lot of people who prefer to shortcut it with Ozempic to lose weight and steroids to gain muscle.
Do what you must, but I just don't think you should be putting it in what you were talking about with the Oprah syndrome of she says something and people just do it and believe it. I think with Ozempic, it's the wealthy who've got access to doctors and can go for their consultant and they can check their high blood pressure every other day. Right. Excuse me. They can check all these things and make sure that they're healthy. But the ordinary person who's like forking out this $5,000 a month in order to get this medicine is not doing all their medical checkups all the time. So I think it's just very dangerous, especially for women in like their 20s. And also it's not just women, by the way. Men are also on Ozempic. So I think if you don't have access to good medical, monitoring, don't do it.
Listen, 2 of the 4 people that I know who are on it are guys. So yeah, it's men and women. Richard Banda says it's hard to lose weight in South Africa. There's a KFC at every corner. Thank you, Richard. Oh, man.
And the smile will get you. That smile will always get you.
So Bakabantu, who hasn't been in the comments for a while, welcome back, Bakabantu. Nice to see you. Says it's anti-science, anti-knowledge. I mean, if you can afford it and science can supply it, do it. And he's right. That's how I feel. I'm of a single mind with you there on that, dude. I completely agree. If you can find something that, I don't know. Listen, we're always looking for a miracle drug, right? If they invented some pill tomorrow that made you twice as efficient and twice as clever, are you telling me you wouldn't take it?
No, of course I would. But you know what? No, Gareth, it depends. I think it always depends on the timeline it gives you, because no drug works amazing all the time. It works, and then it's like, so I'd need to know what that crash looks like. Does it kill your brain cells? Like, are you going to be smart for the duration of time? Is it sustainable? All those things.
It appears okay. So it appears in the case of Ozempic, and I'd love to have medical expertise on this, and I'd love to have a doctor's point of view. I've spoken to one of the doctors I know about it, but it turns out that the side effects and the dangers are small and low. It's like if you try this stuff, and clearly there are enough people out there who are doing it now that you can't even find it. Supposedly in South Africa, it's so hard to get because there's such a shortage. That obviously it's working for a lot of people. So I say, let's not complain and worry about it until some people start dying. And then by then we'll have figured out some other way around it. All right. Let me welcome Ben to the show. Ben's just walked in as well. Hey, Karpinski, how the hell are you?
Hey, fantastic. There it is.
Candice Mama.
And there's Candice too. What a day.
Yeah, it's a good day. How you been?
Yeah, pretty good. Thanks, Gareth. Pretty good. Slightly rushed this morning. Big day ahead. I forgot a few things at home, but here we are.
Well, poor Candice had to sit through me ranting about the stupid president's State of the Nation address yesterday, which I didn't watch, but there was enough information online for me to glean.
Yeah,
He basically lied and lied and lied. So,
but that's what he does. Yeah, unfortunately, that's his makeup.
Oh.
It's like when you buy a sports car, it's not going to take you off road. Earl's not going to tell you anything of honesty.
All right. And we were talking just before you walked in about how everybody in Hollywood and anybody who can afford it in the world is taking Ozempic to lose weight.
Yeah,
you have any opinion on this?
I just never understand this. It's like if you cut corners in life, you're going to crash. It's so simple.
This is what Candice was saying.
Yeah. Well, she's smart. I mean, it's just there's such a joy to actually being healthy and doing things the right way. And don't get me started on that, obviously. But if you just take something, it's like you're just a drug fiend. That's pretty much what you are.
Wow.
Like, you got to appreciate your body. Like your body's the most incredible creation. If you just gave it a bit of respect and a bit of time, whatever you wanted to do, it'll happen. If you're taking drugs, taking these things, yes, great. You'll tick a few boxes. You'll feel terrible in 2 months.
You think so?
Yeah.
So you think there's always a downside?
There's always a downside.
Just because nothing is for free.
Nothing's for free and for good reason.
Well, it's
so,
kind of
cool.
It's kind of where you were, Candice. That's what you were saying, right? There's always a cost to the cost-benefit analysis.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've been through this for so long, Gareth, that we know at this point that anything you take as a shortcut, like Ben was saying, you end up regretting, right? We saw so many health and diet pills that came on the market. What was that one?
Yeah.
Kasala mafuta. I even forgot what the name of the Herbalife.
Mafuta. Yeah.
Zero marketing budget on that one.
That's so good.
Everyone was on that, and we just saw that people would lose weight and then completely explode afterwards. So I don't know. I just think we need a little bit more research and see how this thing can actually be amended for weight loss.
You guys are way too cautious. I'm saying until the first person dies, go ahead and try.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. It's your body. Like something's going to kill you, right? And Ben and I have had this conversation so many times on the show. Something's going to get you. So if you drink too much, if you smoke, if you eat too much, there's going to be something that gets you. If you want to live for as long as possible and be as healthy as possible, try to cut out all the bad habits. Try to make sure you do some moving around and some exercise. But something's going to get you eventually. And if some people really, really, really want to be thin, and maybe we find out 10 years from now that Ozempic is terrible for you, at least they got to be thin for the 10 years they lived.
I just really would like to reiterate the fact that there's a more fun way of doing this. Like it really is, because then it's stuck forever. That becomes who you are. if you're just the person that takes the next fad drug, you're going to end up doing other weird and stupid things. And then you end up with those kind of people as well. Then your actual group becomes the fad drug people. Like,
yes. No,
oh, wow. Did you just say that it's the gateway drug, Ben? Are you saying Ozempic
I think
is
it's a gateway. It's a gateway behavior. There's gateway behaviors that we don't actually really touch on enough in life. It's like the Stanley Cup. It's buying Prime from Checkers, which is now $19.99, by the way.
Yeah,
it's these gateway behaviors. All the way
down. And frankly, things like plastic surgery too, where you're trying to bullshit the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's elements of plastic surgery here. Obviously, as guys, we can have sweeping comments like that, but for women, sometimes it is quite necessary to maintain your integrity and sort of appearance towards things. You could have been disfigured with something. There's illnesses out there, and then just to kind of maintain a bit of youth.
It says, Justice says in the comments here, yes, Candice is right. Hlasela Mafuta is Herbex. It's basically just nonsense. Hlasela Mafuta. I love that. I'm gonna support that just because I love the name. All right. Proper Gender says you just have to go to the toilet more often because you're full of shit, and if you do that, then you'll lose weight. That's the bit of wise advice from Proper Gender this morning. Very important. So listen, Candice, Ben came at me with an agenda because yesterday he sent me this clip of some pod bro talking about podcasting. No, you can explain it better, but I'm just trying to give Candice a bit of she hasn't seen the clip. And he is a pod bro. He's like his carbon copy.
He's not a pod bro. He takes the piss out of pod bros.
What's his name?
James Smith. He's probably one of the few guys who's so independent of voice. That's why he doesn't have the hugest audience like the people that he's talking about.
But he looks like the rest of them. Well, he's all these. No, I'm not.
He's a personal trainer. He was wearing a vest and a pair of shorts and walking around his gym.
What I mean is there are a bunch of these guys who do podcasts. And I can say this now because I've been doing podcasts for 10 years, right? So I'm allowed to be as disparaging about podcasters as I want. These are my people. Okay, so everyone's got a fucking podcast these days and they all think they know what they're doing. And many of them have done extremely well, especially if you're in a big market like the US. You can find a niche and your niche could be like 3 million people. So it's tremendously easy to be successful in podcasting in America. And a lot of very average people have done exactly that. And I say, good, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
But I do think we're getting to a stage now, and this is where the conversation I think should go. And I'd love to hear your inputs on this too, Candice, is like the difference between really great online content, whether you're a YouTuber or a podcaster or an influencer in inverted commas, and average stuff is enormous. And it's getting wider and wider by the day. Like the really good shit is like a smattering of herbs on the top of a big pot of stew.
But now when you say the really good shit, it's important to understand, like, what do you class that as?
Well, everybody has a different view on this. So
yes, exactly.
There's no objective way of evaluating this. You could look at it and go, well, audience numbers, right? You could look at it and go, money made. These are all ways to evaluate a commercial enterprise. But I don't think that's all there is to it, because a lot of this is also generated by algorithms, people who understand the algorithms, people who put big money into short-circuiting the algorithms, working on things like the thumbnails and trying to clickbait people into watching 5 seconds of it because it gets you a view and then you can monetize that view. But it's all very soulless then.
So don't you think it's okay? So a lot of this comes back to the fact that TV has died, really, right? Think about it. People sit down and watch. So podcasting used to be cool. It used to be people just doing this, right? Like we do every single Friday. We kind of shoot the shit a bit and we talk about stuff in a structured enough manner that it's not just guys talking cuck. But TV died. So now all of a sudden that money's got to go somewhere. The advertisers have to go somewhere. So suddenly the podcasters realize, like, shit, we have production value, have studios and have teams, because that money has gone here to make us what that was. And I think we've finally got to the point now where it's absolutely turned. But now they need to now be TV-like in shows. So they have to have certain guests and they have to have certain formats. And it's all about that algorithm. You're so right. Like that Diary of a CEO.
I've never really listened to it, but I believe it's very, very popular. Have you watched or listened to Diary of a CEO?
I love it. I think it's good in terms of the kind of access you get to guests.
Okay.
So I agree with you. I went through a stage of about 6 months listening to quite a lot of his podcasts because I think he had a really good run of guests, but all of this hits a ceiling, right? So I bring him up because if you look at that on face value, it's very formatted. It's very well produced. It's a show. It's a proper show, right? It's got dramatic music and it's got like these mic drop moments where somebody will say something about being bankrupt or this almost ended my life. And then like swoosh sound into next clip of him saying, but it was all about finding the balance. I mean, and then you get a thumbnail like sitting can kill you. And it's all in red and it's like in your face. And I totally get that. But now it became a show and he doesn't have the high quality guest to always back it up. That's why he's got to have sitting is the new cancer kind of thing as a thumbnail. And then what this guy, and the reason I bring it up,
they're constantly chasing the highs.
Absolutely.
That's what they are. They're drug addicts. So just as we criticize people who are on drugs or on Ozempic or whatever else, these guys are so absolutely obsessed with their daily clicks, views, subscribers, their numbers.
Well, you have to be, yeah.
And they chase those things. Yeah, well, of course, they've made that economic model with which to beat themselves, right? So they every day, and I mean, I used to, when I was on radio, I used to stay away from the ratings diaries for the same reason, because if you live by them, you die by them.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a point where someone else comes and steals your audience on YouTube or wherever else. And you've got to keep going. Consistency is more important than chasing the highs of, oh, we got 5,310 on this, but we got 3 million on that. Because then you start making your content for the 3 million clicks rather than making good content.
Exactly. You've basically ended my argument, but I'll just add a couple more pieces in the middle here. Is that because he's trying to chase all these kind of things, and it's not just him, I'm not just picking on him, I'm using it as an example. But then he has people on there who aren't actually that good. But the reason they're there, and this is what James Smith brought up, is that they have a take on something. Now, what I find quite entertaining is that these shows who are so hyper produced, you now get actual experts now basically trolling them and then cutting it down. So they'll get some expert talking about stuff. There's a guy called BioLane on Instagram. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's a very smart guy, unapologetically so. And he basically rips to shreds a lot of these interviews. So you'll get these guys contradicting themselves within the interview. You'll get these guys contradicting the guests from the week before.
So they're just bullshit artists.
But they have to be, because that's what's going to drive the interview of interest.
Because that gets clicks from morons.
So you'll get a guy like Gary Brecker. Okay, you know who Gary Brecker is?
No.
So Gary Brecker, Candice, I'm sure you've heard of this guy. He's not one of those like diet fad people. So Gary, in his life he was like an actuarial scientist who could predict when you die. And he would work for these big insurance companies to basically say, well, if we can charge people these kind of premiums on their shit diets and lives and taking diet pills or whatever, we'll get this much money out of them. And then he finally said, like, shit, maybe I can use this for good, this information. And I can actually tell people, you're going to die. It's like he would assess you and do these kind of things. And it would say, Gareth Cliff will die at 73. And then he'll say, you look, Gareth, if you would just do this, this, and this, you'd live to 83.
Yeah.
And now he's turned full circle, and that's what he does. So everybody had to have Gary Brecker on the show.
Right.
Everyone, like, that was it.
Right.
It was like the hot girl in the club for like a few months. Everybody had to book this dude. So now, because Gary's talking about biohacking and all these other kind of things, all these other people come out of the woodwork, experts around certain things. They may have written a book. They may have a different sort of angle. They may have a personal transformation story. And now they are coming into the network of guests that have to be booked. And a lot of them aren't going to be Gary Brecker. And they're not going to be as good. They're not going to be as charismatic or interesting or have big enough followings. So now you have these like yo-yo effects of people just trying to cram all this information into you.
God.
And it creates a bit of a circus because they all try to sound smart as well. You know, people try to make really like astute points. They even talk differently, but they all talk the same then.
Yeah, but well, I
so
mean,
it's a weird kind of thing.
Therefore, you could cut a clip from any one of these podcasters interviewing the same guy, and it would be like interchangeable.
So, Gareth, I know it's your.
Well, sorry, guys, but to me, what it sounds like is with the podcasting, it's like any industry that is low entry barrier. There's no barrier to actually becoming a podcaster or being good at it. And what that's created is any industry you can just enter with no qualification. is going to be an industry that's full of the podcasts that we love and we think the people are incredible, and the podcasts that are really trash and people just want to hear their own voice, right? And you can compare that. I think the best example would be the red pill community, where men just bring on like OnlyFans models and pretend like they're scolding them, but use them for their thumbnails and whatever.
Yes.
So I think that's what's happening. That's been the popular wave recently of, I'm a dude, I don't like how women act because I can't get one, and therefore I'm just going to bring beautiful women that I can't get onto my show in order to make them feel. I have not
seen this genre.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that is such a good analysis, and you're so right. I've seen so many clips of these things without actually listening to a whole show. But like they'll send that one of that extremely unattractive, extremely fat transgender Gorlock the Destroyer.
Oh yeah, Gorlock. Yeah, she was popular for a while too.
Right. And Candice just pulls a face. But these guys they're annoying as hell because it's the same playbook every week. It's boring.
Yeah. But you remember when podcasting used to be cool? And like Joe Rogan, to his credit, okay, it's still just him and that guy Jamie. He was talking the other day, like, so Joe Rogan made a whole bunch of relatively funny comedians famous, and that Cat Williams guy was going quite hard at it recently. Like, you motherfuckers aren't funny, but you just sucking on Joe Rogan's nuts.
Yeah,
and these guys now all have these shows, and even Joe was saying, like, I was on this guy's podcast the other day. He had like 7 people with clipboards in the studio.
Yeah.
Like they've got teams,
right?
And it's like a sweatshop of algorithm monkeys, basically just typing shit in the whole time.
Because you've got, again, like Candice said, it's a low barrier to entry, but you've got very average midwit people who've learned to manipulate the algorithm, because any 20-year-old can figure that out now. That's how they get follows and likes.
Well, Optimus Beast talked about it. Everybody now games the system, as they say.
Game the system. So a bunch of people who would never entertain you at a dinner party are suddenly getting like 20 million hits on things that they don't deserve because they've gamed the system. That's why I don't ever get into comparing numbers with people on this show. If you don't like it, don't listen. If you like it, good. We've got clients, we've got listeners, we've got a community, we've got people who like to take the piss out of us in the comment section, which I think is awesome.
Very good. It's very important.
And we get to have Candice Mama on every now and then. So what a win. I'd rather have that than be sitting there agonizing over the numbers and how many seconds in do we have to mention the word us so that someone will stay. How pathetic.
It is. Sorry, Ben. I think with the Diary of a CEO, that one is a little different because there are going to be different subject matter experts that we might not like, but other people will resonate with. And I love that little TikTok trend where it was every time this guy's trying to do something healthy for his life, he listens to a new podcast and someone's like, did you know eating apples is bad for you? And he puts down the apple and he gets coffee. And it's like, drinking coffee will shorten your lifespan. And he puts down the coffee, right? We just in this weird information age. And so many people are just following the trends, like you were saying, Gareth, in terms of when people realize that, the numbers are moving towards this kind of conversation, that's where they run. A big example of that is Gerlock the Destroyer, whatever their name is. Pearl Davis, like, the one who is like pale and pasty and does not look after herself, not because she's not an attractive, she just doesn't put in any effort. And she'll tell women how to be wives when she's never been a wife. And I'm like, make this make sense, right? And the blue pill, whatever community loves her because she criticizes women. So it's just, there's so much going on out there.
I think all your examples are exactly right. But Carl says, I hate this show. I just come every day in case there's an attractive woman someday. I hit my luck today. So thank God for Candice. All right, we've got to get to some sport, Ben, because it's almost 7 o'clock.
We can take this topic on forever and ever. There's so many different levels to this, which I find interesting. But yes, Gareth, it's Friday. It's Friday, which means it's sport.
All right, Ben's got some sport for us. Here we go, everybody. This is brought to you by Super Bets. It is our chance to get on the scoreboard and to figure out what we're going to watch this weekend. Candice, I hope you're paying attention. Everybody else, I hope you're ready for this. Super Bets, of course, supports responsible gambling, strictly in under 18s. Winners know when to stop. South Africa's Responsible Gambling Foundation's toll-free counseling hotline, 0800 006 008. Okay, what's happening?
Well, last night I went to the SA20 at the Wanderers. What a jaw.
Oh, cheers.
Nobody had a bigger jaw though than Heinrich Carlson. the big red machine. He has got to be the greatest T20 batsman right now. It's just crazy how good this Oak is. He started off slow. He ended up just killing the team, like absolutely killing the Joburg Super Kings. It was quite something to watch. So Joburg Super Kings, unfortunately, did not make it through yesterday. So the final is going to be the teams that finish top of the log anyway. The Sunrisers Eastern Cape, they'll take on the Durban Super Giants on Saturday at 5:30, the final of the SA20, the second playing of it. I really love this tournament. So I think it's great for local cricket, even though it does mean that we'd send a 17th string test match team to New Zealand. They will not be playing this weekend. They're going to wait until the 13th to have their second exhibition match where they get taught a lesson by the Black Caps. But if you are looking for cricket in that side of the hemisphere, the world, whatever, the Aussie and SA women's are having a bit of a go at it right now. The T20s, the ODIs, and there's a one-off test. So the SA women are doing pretty well in the ODIs. They are 1-1 after a historic win last time around. 1-1 in a 3-match series. So if you like a bit of women's cricket, Saturday morning, 5:40, you can wake up and watch that one. Also, test cricket around India and England. That'll also only be next week. So into the rugby. Wow, France. I mean, you got to think, like, did the Springboks take their mojo? Did the butt hurt of just losing their own Rugby World Cup really dent their confidence? Because they were terrible last week against Ireland. The Six Nations basically is whenever Ireland and France play, the winner of that will kind of win. Okay. It just so happened this year, it was the first game out of the blocks. So Ireland absolutely hammered France at home. It was just terrible. Their South African lock, Willemse, got sent off for some fruity tackles. So I would say that the Six Nations are already decided. I'm not just saying that to try to sound like a salacious podcaster, but essentially they are the best team and they're really, really great.
Clickbait, Ben.
Look at me, clickbait. Ireland's already won the Six Nations after one game. But so this Saturday, Scotland had a narrow win last week. They'll be hosting France at 4:15. That'll actually be a really good game because, again, France doesn't have Dupont because Dupont wants to be an Olympian this year, which is cool. I just hope he doesn't get one of those cheesy tattoos. I think Olympic tattoo should be for track and field and swimmers. If you do bobs, no, that's winter. Like, I know Ricky Fowler's got an Olympic tattoo. He's a golfer.
But Ben, surely anyone who goes to the Olympics can have an Olympics tattoo.
You've got to be an ultra athlete, Gareth.
Really?
Come with this story.
Okay.
You play a team sport and you want to really make a big track and field, the ultimate athletes. Those are the people because they sacrifice the most for that thing, right? All the other people have nice careers where they make money. You saunter in here with your little golf game and now get an Olympic tattoo.
You think it's a hack?
I think it's almost stolen valor. It's quite a leap from where I was going with this. Anyway, so France, not going to be their best, but I tell you what, that France-Scotland game is going to be electric. Then we've got England versus Wales. Again, England, new captain, unsettled team, but solid coaching staff. Again, not such a great win last week against Italy, who you would think they would hammer them. Wales, young, inexperienced team. The captain looks like he's still in school. That, again, is going to be a nice, tight, exciting game. 6:45 on Saturday. And then Sunday, Ireland are going to be hammering Italy at 5 o'clock in Ireland. In the AFCON, yes, I know we lost this week. So Bafana, look, it was pretty good. It was a pretty entertaining game. Obviously lost on penalties. And if you do watch a lot of PSL, I mean, I don't. I watch enough. I understand that. South Africans aren't very good at penalties. So we need like heroics from a goalkeeper to get through into the penalties. I'm entirely shocked by the fact that we didn't win that one. But the winners of obviously the semi-finals play in the final. That's how sport works. That'll be Nigeria versus Ivory Coast at 10 o'clock on Sunday. But if you do want to watch Bafana again, Saturday at 10 o'clock, they'll be taking on the DR Congo. In other football, the Premier League's obviously still firing away. Liverpool still on top, 51. But Arsenal did bloody well last week in beating them 3-1. So that means they're only 2 points behind in second place, along with Man City. Man City will be playing Everton, 2:30 on Saturday. Spurs versus Brighton, who started bright, but they're kind of nowhere at the moment. They're at 5. Liverpool versus Burnley at 5. Then Nottingham Forest and Newcastle at 7:30. On Sunday, we've got West Ham versus Arsenal at 4. And then Aston Villa versus Man United at 6:30. That's a huge game. It really is. Aston Villa are doing incredibly well. And of course, there's different incentives to be good in the Premier League. Obviously, you want to win, but you also want to get a top 4 spot to go Champions League. You want to get in the top 6 or whatever it is to go into that Europa midweek vibe. So always a lot of incentives to be really, really good. In the golf this weekend, we've got the biggest show on grass, I think is their tagline. It is the Phoenix Open. So what happens at the Phoenix Open? Just go onto YouTube, you'll find what goes on here. It's quite something. People queue up at like sunrise, before dawn. There's a big gate. They open the gate, and thousands and thousands of people just run to one thing. There's a hole on there that I think has 200,000 people all considered.
Yeah, that's big. That's bigger than the number of people you could fit in FNB Stadium twice.
So that's around a par 3. So it's
tiny little space, and
this
there's no
par
stadium
3
seating, is there?
There is.
Okay.
This par 3, Gareth, is a structure. They build a stadium around this hole so that, because I mean, Phoenix is a big university kind of town. People just flock towards it. Like, it's a really big deal to be at this event. And people are chugging beers from like 6:30 in the morning. And if you get a hole in one, the place just erupts. Everyone throws beer glasses and stuff onto the green. If guys like hole big putts, same thing, beers everywhere. So that's interesting.
It's the waste management one that you've told us about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm looking at a picture here. I just want to put this up on the screen so that everybody else can see. They do have a stadium.
It's an actual massive, gigantic stadium that they build around a par 3. So the hole, I think, is only around 120, 130 meters.
Wow. I mean, this is phenomenal. So all those people cram in because they just want to get boozed.
It's just a jaw.
So look at this, Candice.
That's one hole.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's
maybe
beautiful.
not 200,000 people. I might have got the number wrong.
Maybe 50,000, but it's still
like hospitality, and
it's way more than, I mean, you compare that to any other golf tournament. There's a standing room only, and you can't see over a tall guy.
Yeah.
You know, here they built this.
You got that to look forward to. And if you like the golf on the DP World Tour, they're playing in Qatar this weekend. There's some South Africans are doing pretty well at the moment in that mix. So not the hugest sporting weekend, but obviously it's the Super Bowl weekend. Now, I would get into this, but we never talk about NFL for the rest of the year, so I don't think it's worth giving a toss to now. Because ultimately, your headlines are halftime show, Taylor Swift.
Is she doing the halftime show?
No, she's not doing the halftime show, but she is the show.
She's the show.
And I always believe that if you're trying to sell a sport and the actual sport isn't even in the top 3 mentions, it's not really a sport. It's like horse racing. Yeah. You talk about the horse racing, it's like outfits, celebrities,
money to be won.
Long John Silver at 3 strides of a win, like whatever.
Long John Silver.
That's pretty much a sporting weekend, and it's going to be a goodie. And I think if you want to have a bit of fun on the betting, like we always say.
Well, Vyasan says, I need some good tips, Ben. I got a huge tax bill from SARS. I'm so sorry. Yes, and that's horrible.
Yeah, yes, I don't know where to unpack that. But last week I gave you 3 tips for the Six Nations. All of those teams won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're pretty good at this.
I think the Six Nations this weekend is going to be a bit more interesting because that Scotland-France game can go either way. England versus Wales. Look, Scotland, I would say France are going to win. England are going to win. Ireland are definitely going to win. But those first 2 are so hit and miss as far as what's going to go on there. So I would go with that, and I would tell you that the Sunrisers Eastern Cape are going to win the SA20.
Okay,
I just have a good feeling about it.
There's a tip.
Because
do you watch any of this, Candice? Have you Ben went to live cricket last night? Did you go to any of this stuff?
No, not at all. But it's great. It's great to sit here nodding away. The only thing that I remembered hearing was Taylor Swift and dying a little inside. Because I was like,
"Oh, good! You're not a big fan."
That name.
Yeah, I think everyone is.
Yeah, how does she end up taking over even areas where we don't want her? You know, really. I mean, she was I saw a clip of her. Obviously, she won another
Grammys.
She's got so many.
Album of the Year.
She's got so many Grammys now. I mean, she's basically, her one whole wall at home is built out of Grammy trophies that she's melted down and made a solid wall out of.
You can always pull Ryan in to tell us this because he's
a big Swiftie. Yeah. But the reality is, you know, here's this woman. She, by the way, when she went on stage to collect the one award, someone sent me a clip of it. She was so matter of fact. She's like, thanks. She's like, oh, thanks for this. It's so great. I love you. You know, all the stuff that she has to say. And then she goes, yeah, I've got a new album coming out. Woo, it's going to be great. She's like, yeah, put the product in front of the people. Make the people buy the product. Talk about algorithms. Talk about just clocking over the numbers and the money. Like Taylor Swift, the world's least passionate human being, singing about another breakup when that's the only subject matter she can find for any song. It's just unbelievable that this woman is such a success.
Imagine dating her and having an argument and just thinking like, I'm going to say some things and they're going to end up in songs.
Oh my God.
That must be quite cool.
Candice just goes, oh my God.
No, because this album that's coming out it has come out that it's about her ex-boyfriend. Let's not
Oh,
forget
God.
she's got a current
So
boyfriend,
original.
right?
Talk about
And
an
so the
algorithm. Talk
name-
about gaming the system.
I
All you
mean-
have to do if you want to sell albums to 15-year-old girls, just sing about breakups because they think it's the worst thing ever.
Exactly. It's so terrible. And also, Gareth and Ben, I want to get a man's take on this. She named the album, basically her ex-boyfriend had a group of friends, and they went on a WhatsApp group and they called themselves the Dead Poet Society. And she named her whole album the Dead Poet Society. Now let's put this in real life. If an
How old is
ex-boyfriend
guys?
of
Like
yours,
16.
I would sue her for stealing the name of our WhatsApp group for starters. Take some of that money off that smirk. Take that smirk off a boring, passionless face.
it to me it's the equivalent of
Is that where
like,
the name comes? I didn't know that's where the name came
yeah,
from.
so it's like the whole album's got like these Easter eggs which we're all tired of.
Jesus.
But imagine this in real life, your ex-girlfriend coming to Woolworths in a wedding dress because she hopes she's going to bump into you. This is the level of lunacy. And let's not forget,
God.
Gareth, Taylor Swift and I are the same age. We are both 32.
Oh, man.
This is an elder. She's no longer a baby. I'm so confused.
Right. Yeah.
as
How
to
can you be
what-
singing about teenage breakups when you're in your 30s? I mean, it's like it shows that there's been no emotional development for about 10 years. No, really.
So well put.
It's fine if you're 15 and you're singing about the stuff. It's even fine if you're 25. But how old is she now? 34?
She's 34.
32,
So how
34,
do you
yeah.
get
Yeah,
it? How do you
34.
and how stupid are your audience to keep buying that you are the same person you were 10 years ago and not
Well,
flinch?
Well, the clever thing is this, Gareth, she caters to kids. So if you notice
Right.
that her dancing's very awkward and a little spastic, like she's
No, that's
not
just
doing
'cause-
the
that's 'cause
sexy
she's-
thing,
That's
so
just 'cause she's
just for the
white.
baby.
Yeah, but she's also, I mean, the Gareth, I take offense to that because the whites can hire people to help with that kind of stuff now.
They can. And
She's
they-
just looking at me as a bad rep.
Yeah. We do have Justin Timberlake. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, we've got to take a quick break, but I do want to carry on with this because I do think it's a fascinating, it's an insight into the culture. The whole world is going through this strange desire for meaning. And then there's still these meaningless people who seem to be dominating it in some way. We'll get into that. It's just after 7, cliffcentral.com. Stick around. Candice Mama's with us. Ben Karpinski's with us. And you are with us. We've also got Alan Committie joining us in a short while. So stick around for that and a whole lot more. It's Friday.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
If you're going to sell your car on Auto Trader, they're going to obviously require photos.
Yeah.
And if you want somebody to instantly like your advert on our platform, it is definitely volume of images.
Yeah.
So firstly, you're going to take a image straight up front. You're going to take a front recorder and you're going to take a side profile. So go and find a location that doesn't matter which direction you're shooting into. It's not distracting. Don't have a distracting element.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
here we are. We are live. It is Friday, cliffcentral.com, and we've got a full menu for you today. I see a bunch of stories in the news. Let me just give you a couple of headlines here, and if you have any comments, Ben and Candice, go for it. Mount Everest, apparently climbers will need to bring poo back to base camp.
Oh, about time.
Because Candice's face. Apparently, climbers, because there's so many of them now, and Mount Everest has also become something that even average, not particularly brilliant people can do. And I take nothing away from people who climbed Everest. Don't get me wrong. It's like people who climbed Kilimanjaro. I haven't done it. I think it must be an enormous achievement, but it's like doing the comrades. You know, you can come in after 10 hours, you know, you shit yourself as you cross the finishing line, and you can get a bronze medal and you can put it on the wall in your house that nobody will ever look at or ask you about, but you feel good about it, so it's fine. And the same goes for Mount Everest. There are so many people climbing it that they're leaving their shit everywhere. And the Nepalese, because there are no Tibetans anymore, only Chinese, Nepalese are saying, guys, you know, at least bring your shit back in packets rather than just leaving it on the mountain, because it freezes every year and it never goes away.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like when you take your dog for a walk, you pick up their poo.
Yeah.
Put in a bin or something.
And don't expect your, what do they call the people who take them up the mountain? The Sherpas. Don't expect your Sherpa to clean up after you, like a dog owner has to clean up after their dog. They've got a hard enough job.
They're doing enough. They're carrying all your oxygen so that you can breathe. So they're carrying all your food and stuff.
So that all these average people can get to the top. The poor Sherpa has to carry the oxygen as well. I mean, it's just outrageous. Any comments on that, Candice? It's very important for environmental cleanliness.
I get it, but also you climbing Mount Everest over days, right? So are you supposed to just have a plastic bag that you poop into and you carry it up with you and you carry it down? Like, I don't know, Gareth. This is not for me, hey? Like, I'm just, and also is it like people are weird. So some people will keep their ish with them for the rest of their life. I mean, like someone said in the comments, some people are full of shit, and some of them will bring it down and be like, this is my Everest poop.
My Everest
like,
shit.
You know,
yes, exactly.
Oh.
But that's
just like the Comrades Marathon bronze medal on their wall in Springs. Someone's going to have a packet of their own feces. This is the shit I took on top of Everest. Isn't it impressive? And we're all going to have to go, yeah, very good.
I think that's
I don't think any of us are going to say yeah. No, none of us are going to say yeah. I think we would leave that house with like I would be out of there so quick, Gareth, because now I can't trust you. I don't want water in your house. Don't offer me anything. I really want to sit on the couch. I'd be like, oof. I don't know how these people get down. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Yeah, and someone said adult diapers. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but adult diapers is fine if you've got like an issue. But if you're pushing good stools out, it's a volume thing.
So Mapello is attacking my character here. This is why I love the comment section, saying Gareth used to have a crush on Taylor Swift. He really used to like her. Well, I think, yeah, there was something appealing about her when I was 34, 35. I got it. It's like it was, she was this hot new thing on the scene, and she had these cutesy songs, and you know, she was true to her character. What made her famous in the beginning was that she was the real deal. She was a girl who'd broken up with guys and had like a story to tell. But I think it's just tired after 15 years of trotting out the same horse. This is exactly the same conversation we had about the pod bros earlier. Really, it's enough already.
I've never actually thought this much about Taylor Swift.
I know,
but now that you mention it,
spoken about it.
It's like quite divisive, because the next generation of girls, I mean, Candice kind of brought it up, is that you're now normalizing this kind of stuff. You're gonna look, when you're young, you're gonna have breakups, okay? People are gonna say things in the moment, they're gonna seem mean and horrible, but that builds your character. Don't now make men the enemy. Don't now think that all women are gonna do this.
Right.
She's playing into this game, which is like, because everybody feels vulnerable about relationships and they feel like victims. And she's pouring fire onto this as one of the biggest celebrities in the world.
It's like the way the politicians do this with race.
Completely.
Exactly
she's basically a Black Mirror episode. She's a contrived pop star who's preying on the emotions of people who are unstable or just growing up, which also makes her unstable.
You agree?
I only got stable when
Well-
I was like 1.
You're still not stable.
In fairness, Ben, I think that what she is serving is a demographic of women that are maybe not meeting the guy that they going to settle down with, and marriage is getting like more prolonged. Some people aren't getting married. Some people aren't meeting their romantic partners. And I think listening to Taylor Swift gives people comfort because they think to themselves, oh,
Sure.
I'm not the only one that's going to die alone. I think what people forget is what I call the Beyonce syndrome. Beyonce was getting us on the dance floor and I was there. Okay. Busy going, all the single ladies, like we were doing the most. But we forgot, Gareth. The problem is we forgot that she's got Jay-Z at home.
Yeah,
we were
right.
actually
She's
single.
bullshitting you.
You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
So Taylor
And then you
Swift
get
is the
home.
same.
You get home and you're lonely and you cry because you go to sleep on your own. Yeah, because it's all the single ladies when you're on the dance floor and then you're like, I don't want to be single. But it's exactly the same. Again, to draw the parallel between this and those red pill podcast guys that you were talking about earlier with Gorlock the Destroyer. These guys are just basically attacking women, saying all the things that are wrong with women. Oh, women are sluts and they dress like this and they have low morals and low standards. But then Taylor Swift's doing the same thing about guys, and neither of these groups of people are happy.
As we said weeks ago, Taylor Swift is the female Andrew Tate.
You did say that.
Oh
That's
my
right.
God.
That's pretty.
Yeah,
That's
but she
so
is.
good. I didn't think about it. But yes, it's true.
Well, I didn't think about it
That's
either,
true.
but it's exactly where it is.
right.
And
I think
it's more
that's where we leave it.
dangerous. Yeah, well, I just want to leave it on this, Gareth, where I
Go on.
think it's more dangerous with Taylor Swift, unlike with Andrew Tate. We could all see Andrew Tate.
Taylor Swift is more dangerous. Hang on,
Yes.
Candice Mama. This is the headline that's going to get
This
the
is the
clickbait.
thumbnail. Just make
This
an
is
angry
the-
face. We'll capture
Candice
that
Mama
image.
says Taylor Swift is more dangerous than Andrew Tate. There we
Let
go.
me tell
Captured
you
it.
why. Because
Let me
Andrew
tell
Tate,
you.
you could see, is an a-hole, right? Like we know this. Whereas Taylor
Yeah.
Swift sells herself as the sweet, vulnerable,
Sweet,
innocent
yeah,
woman.
right.
And so she
Mhm.
sneaks into the subconscious because you're like, Taylor wouldn't hurt a fly. Meantime, she's spreading this rhetoric that is probably not good for society. So I think she's a little bit more dangerous for the
Well,
youth.
that is a hell of an observation. And to tie it back to the thing we started talking about this morning, is Taylor Swift and Cyril are both just duplicitous liars. They present a version of the world that is just not true.
Yeah.
And there, now we've come full circle. We can finish the show right now. There's no need to carry on.
Sometimes you got to go short and sweet. Yeah. Let's wrap it up.
All right, here's something I do want to talk about because I care about this even if no one else does. All right, so I'm going to force it in. It's my agenda. I'm going to push this through. Nuclear fusion. Does anyone else care? Nuclear fusion has produced more energy than ever before in an experiment that they've just recently done, bringing the world a step closer to the dream of limitless clean power. New world record was set at the UK-based Jet Laboratory. Nuclear fusion, of course, the process that powers stars, including the sun. It is what happens when you heat and force all the particles in the nucleus of an atom together, so protons and neutrons. You force them together to make a heavier nucleus, which then releases all the energy you could possibly imagine. Scientists believe it could produce vast amounts of energy without heating up the atmosphere. The results came from the lab's final experiment after more than 40 years of nuclear research. So while Taylor and Cyril and Andrew Tate and everybody else have been talking shit for years, double that, quadruple that. And that's the amount of research these people have usefully done in the field of nuclear fusion. If it is successfully scaled up to commercial levels, it could produce endless amounts of clean energy without any carbon emissions. And crucially, unlike wind and solar, it would not be at the mercy of weather conditions. They even say there's a possibility, this is what excites the hell out of me about this, is that there's a possibility they could build small nuclear fusion devices the size of a suitcase that could power entire cities. That's not outside the realm of possibility. Imagine what that would do for the world. Cheap, limitless energy for poor people everywhere. They wouldn't have to waste so much money on transport, on electricity, on heating their food, on all of these things, production, their jobs, everything that you need to do to stay warm or stay cool or everything else. It would be absolutely amazing if we can get this right. So I am fully behind this and hugely excited. I hope it happens in my lifetime.
Yeah, it won't. But I mean,
Oh, thanks, Ben.
it's amazing. No, it is, because who's making money out of that?
No, there'll be huge money to be made if they can get the process right. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but
I mean, there will be people who lose money.
yeah,
That's what you're talking
But that's the thing. It's like, who's making money out of it? Not the people who are running whatever these things are, who are lobbying politicians.
Doesn't matter.
We know that story.
We've also seen that these politicians are not nearly as influential as they thought they were. Slowly but surely, people all over the world. Look at this brilliant. Have you seen this guy in Argentina, Candice?
No,
This,
which guy?
Javier Milei. He's my favorite
He's great.
politician in the whole world in my lifetime. I mean, I cannot remember being as interested in somebody and their ideas in politics for, 20 years. This guy is just phenomenal. And he is so smart. I mean, he's an economics lecturer by profession, which usually would make me a bit suspicious. But he's out there teaching the amateurs in politics just how it all actually works. And he's terrific.
He's got balls too.
He takes no shit.
Yeah.
He takes no shit. Watch Argentina just blossom as a country under this guy. And they deserve it. They've had years and years of socialist shit.
I mean, the last best president was probably Madonna. That was a long time ago as well.
Yeah, when Madonna was their first lady, wasn't she?
She was, yeah. After Vita Perón, it was then Madonna.
Yeah,
For
Madonna wasn't Madonna actually married to Juan Perón? I think she was.
Yeah.
Oh, who can tell? I mean, we blur the lines between reality and pretend. That's the whole. There's an overriding theme this morning.
But that's where she got her taste for Latin men, when she was president of Argentina.
Yes, that's right. And Antonio Banderas was the king of South America or something.
Yeah, he was
something like that. All right, so we got lots of other stuff to get to this morning. I do want to throw this in quickly because it's an ongoing theme on this show too, is scammers. And apparently you, Candice Mama, almost got scammed enrolling in a university in the UK. Did they get any money out of it?
Oh my gosh. No, thank goodness. But Gareth, what I've
Thank
realized
God.
is when they get your information, they put you on what they call a scammers database, kind of like romance scammers. You know, if one can scam you, they put you on this rotation. And so I was just innocently applying to the London School of Economics because I want to get my economics degree. And
That's a big deal. Don't just sneak that in under the floorboards there. That's quite a big thing. Why did you decide? No, hang on, because that's a major decision. Why would you want to go and study economics? I mean, LSE is very, very good, but that would be. Are you thinking of going into something like that professionally?
Well, I just want to understand it more, Gareth. I think there's so many things going on in the world that have such a massive economic principle under it, and I just don't feel like I understand it enough.
Like Javier Milei, you should watch him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm gonna. And so that's why I want to go into economics, to have a better understanding of the economic world, but also to slowly start moving into it. And so I put in my details. It was the London School of Economics site. So that I was sure about. However, when I got a call from Rajesh, and I was like, hey, Rajesh. And he's like, oh, I saw your application, So in the beginning, it sounded
come on, let's just really cause some clickbait fire here and do the accent. Go on. How did Rajesh sound? Go on.
Okay, wait. I have to say, my grandfather. No, my grandfather is Indian, so I'm allowed to.
Go on.
But
so you can get away with it. Go.
Yeah. So he was like, "Is this Candice Mama?" And I was like, "Yes." And then he goes, "So I'm just calling because you are enrolled at the London School of Economics. Is that right?" I'm not gonna
I love the head movements. You even got the head movements right. Yeah.
But anyway, fast forward, as we're talking on the phone, he starts asking me like more in-depth questions that are in my enrollment paper. But I'm like, he should have this. So I said, it's in the paper. And he says, okay, fine. So he starts getting a little annoyed with me. And he's like, okay, all we need is for you to pay. And I go, no, you don't, because I haven't been accepted yet. And he's like, no, this is in order because you're like an elder. You don't need to send through like your matric certificate. And I was like, that's actually incorrect, Rajesh. And he's like, no. If you pay this, you're going to be enrolled and we can just move forward with the process. Gareth, this man tried to take so much money out of me. And I said, no, sir, not today.
Well
Satan.
done. Good for you.
No,
Not
but
today.
Now the
That is
problem
the appropriate response.
The scammers have now, like, I was booking Delta flights for my America trip, and now they've got me, Gareth, because I got an email from Nedbank saying that, oh, your payments didn't go through for your Delta flights. We're the only ones that can process it. Follow this fun link. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be my life now.
Oh God. Yeah. But I think they do put you on a database. I think once they see someone is scammable, like poor old Lebang who works for us here. Lebang has been taken by 1,000 different scams over the years. And I think she's probably at the top of all those lists. They're like,
she's dating Rajesh at this stage.
Yeah,
it's
she
like,
should
well,
be dating Rajesh, yeah.
This close to it now.
I'm sure that all the scammers get on like a group WhatsApp chat on their Dead Poet Society WhatsApp group, and they go, hey, man, you already want to take someone for a ride. This Lebang, she's fantastic. Hey, she'll just give you money. Just hand over the money. Or no problems. All right, so Taylor Swift, this is amazing how people jump to this. Taylor Swift is an agent of Baphomet, according to Ted De Boer. Now, I don't know who Baphomet is. I assume like some kind of demon. But that's a hell of a stretch. I mean, fine. She may not be everybody's cup of tea.
She's a product.
She may have outlived her shelf life in terms of the kind of product she's selling, but clearly not if people are still buying it. But to say she's an agent of what Baphomet, I mean, it's a little bit of a leap. It's like these people who say that Satan has to be at the bottom of everything, right? Like if you dig deep enough, you'll find Satan. There's never just a human greedy explanation for something, or a human just going through the motions. There are people who've been married for 20 years. They haven't had sex in 30, and they pretend to like each other. That doesn't mean Satan is at the bottom of their...
Oh, I agree. I think people jump to that conclusion far too quickly.
Way too quickly. Like, Satan? Really? We have to go all the way to that?
I do think the whole political left is kind of fueled by that, though. Because nothing can be that systematic.
By Satan?
Look how widespread it is. I'll agree with you until that point.
Who's going to be watching the... by the way, Giga Shack agrees with me. Long live freedom, damn it. Loved this from Millet of Argentina. Yeah. Well, Sanela says Candice the scammed mama, but you weren't scammed.
No, she fought them off.
No, she managed to. She said, "Not today, Satan," and she got away.
Exactly.
She saw the Satan, the real one, or Satan. She does flash. Says Slippery Pickle says she does flash the Baphomet signs. All right, so Slippery Pickle, you have to explain what the Baphomet. Okay, I need to really understand.
Is this the god that Katy Perry prays to as well?
Baphomet. Let me just look this up. I've still got pictures of a golf stadium around a hole. Baphomet. Let me just look this up. I need to know now what's going on here. Baphomet.
Is it like a local Satan or is it universal?
Baphomet is a deity which the Knights Templar were accused of worshipping. It subsequently became incorporated into various occult and Western esoteric traditions. The name Baphomet appeared in the trial transcripts of the Inquisition of the Knights Templar starting in 1307. So you're dragging out some made-up shit from the 1300s.
But what is
and saying Taylor Swift is worshipping this thing?
What's a Baphomet sign?
Don't know, but they've got a lot of pictures here. If I go to images under Baphomet, it's like the traditional, devil with the horns and the wings and the goat, like, the goat thing. And I think this is the sign is like this or something. Or this. But this used to be the sign before Baphomet was a thing. This was a sign of blessing, benediction.
So a Sam Smith music video, basically.
Well, I mean, he's clearly possessed by Baphomet, or he's eaten Baphomet.
He's eaten Baphomet too.
He's eaten him.
That's how you get the most out of Baphomet. You got to eat him.
Yeah. And V. Rose says, well, thanks to Gord, who hasn't been on the show for some time, I now worship Cthulhu. There's another good one. Blame it on Cthulhu. It's just amazing. Like, people will always find an external locus of responsibility. They'll always find something, someone, some activity, some institution, as long as they don't have to take the blame. It'll be the devil or Baphomet or Taylor Swift or Cyril Ramaphosa. It's never like, I fucked up, I screwed up. That's why I love Candice's story about how she was very nearly scammed, but she outwitted them.
Absolutely. Stop them in their tracks.
Take responsibility. It's not someone else. Don't take Ozempic. Go and lose weight the traditional way.
Yeah.
Although I am curious about this stuff. And if I do find someone who could supply it to me and I do try it for a while, I'll tell you if I do. I asked Jonathan Witt about it the other day.
And?
He said to me, there's a professor he put me in touch with who's like the best at this stuff. She knows everything. So we can get her on the show.
Okay.
Well, if you can, why not? That's what Candice says.
I'm
going to take her advice. She's my new GP. She doesn't even have an economics degree yet, but she's my new GP. You see, I mix up economics and medicine. To me, it's the same thing. She's clever. I'll listen to her. That's great. I'll take diet advice from Taylor Swift as well. Lol, we visited ancient ruins in Libya, Leptis Magna, which still has an arch with the head carvings of Medusa. Also, Caesar's name is still on the plaques, which is incredible. That is incredible. But no mention of Baphomet.
No, that's the first time I've heard of Baphomet. But then again, I don't really...
You don't know about Baphomet either?
I don't really delve into these kind of things much.
Yeah. Well, I think that here's Xavier says, in the end, we must admit Taylor has extraordinary power with her millions of followers, and others will always try to ride on that, including Satanists.
Yeah.
Well, those Satanists. I interviewed one. By the way, I interviewed a South African Satanist. He goes by the name of the Friendly Satanist.
Yeah.
On social media. In fact, we'll be playing that out on Wednesday next week. Very, very bizarre. Very bizarre. I mean, a lot of people in the office were worried and nervous to even have someone like that here. Doesn't bother me in the least.
So that's the thing. What are you worried about?
Yeah, I think they think that he was going to come and suck their souls out or something.
Yeah.
Well, like Jane was busy hiding in the one room. And
Jane, everything goes in cycles, right? I'm pretty sure that at one stage, maybe just because I was young and stupid, but I'm sure there was a time for Satanists. They've really fallen away recently.
They had their time.
They've really fallen away of late.
In the 80s, Candice, you're too young for this too, but I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, they still used to, they told us these horror stories as kids that if you wandered out late at night, or you didn't tell your parents where you were, or you stayed at a party too late or whatever, and instead of going to your friend's house, which you said you were doing, you went out somewhere else, the Satanists would get you and they would sacrifice you in some woodland ceremony, and there'd be baby's blood and cats and all kinds of other shit happen. And I must be honest with you, I've never really encountered anyone who actually went through all of that, but it put the fear of all kinds of shit into me as a kid. I remember thinking, these Satanists, they're everywhere and they're coming for you. Did you ever have any of that? Did people tell you the Satanists were coming for you?
Well, was it the Satanists or the devil? Because for me, it was never about the Satanists per se. It was just like the devil works through people, and I think it's a very like brown person thing, because we just afraid of everything. Like if you wake up at if you hear someone wakes up at 3 and 6, you just pissed
off all the mixed race and colored people in South Africa. We're scared of everything.
No, look, I am a part of the black and brown people community, and let me just say that I think our parents did us a disservice by making us everything. I remember there was once one of our neighbors told my mom while she was driving in that he woke up at 3 o'clock every day, and my mom was like, he's a witch. I was like, what do you mean?
A witch?
She's like, only witches wake up between 3 and 6. And I was like,
I'm in trouble then.
Yeah.
I wake up Monday to Friday between 3 and 6 a.m. and I must have. All right, listen, Ben, I know you got to get going. Thank you for being on the show this morning.
I do. I've got Satanists to go fight.
That's right. He's wearing his black. So
I'm wearing all black. I'm the Prince of Darkness myself today.
Baphomet Ben.
Baphomet Ben. There we go. That's my new tagline for next week.
All right. Cheers.
Everybody.
All right. Bye-bye, Ben. We've got Candice Mama with us for another half an hour. This is fantastic. And we're going to be joined by Alan Committie, who I haven't seen in ages. He's here to talk to us this morning too. He's got a couple of shows that he's doing and some other cool shit. And we're going to talk about all the stuff that we've already been talking about. So there's plenty to go on there. Hey guys, Rajesh is in the chat, says Xavier. He's followed you from the scamming, Candice. Your scam artist has followed you from the scams into our show. Now we're all going to be getting those emails from scammers. Thanks very much.
Okay.
All right.
Rajesh, just give me a break. Give me a break. I don't need to be fighting scammers.
Here he is. I'll try again later, Candice. That's what Rajesh says. I love it. All right. So, hey, Alan Committie, how the hell are you?
Man, so good. Happy to have found the studio, to be here on a beautiful Friday morning.
You're happy to have found it. Why? Was it a bit of an ordeal?
Well, it wasn't, it wasn't the worst thing that I've ever had to encounter, but it was a slippery path through bushes and lovely trees. And
you didn't encounter any Satanists on your way?
No, not this time. I'm very happy to report. How are you? How are you? Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Good. It has been a while.
Yeah.
So you're always busy, though. I mean, as comedians and performers go, there's some people who just, they work and work and work. And it seems to me like people really like working with you because you're dependable and reliable. You pitch up, you do what you're required to do. And then they go, you know what? If we need someone to do this, we do it with Alan because he knows his stuff.
Well, that's very kind. Yeah.
Don't you think that's right?
Listen, it's
professional, man.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. And I'm, lucky enough to have many opportunities and do the thing. But I guess also there is just so much to be done. And I don't just want to be kind of pigeonholed into stand-up as much as I adore doing that. And it's a great pleasure. So in between and around that, producing and writing and creating other stuff.
You're busy.
Busy. You
don't rest on your laurels.
No, sir.
So in case you don't know, Alan is doing a couple of interesting things, including a new show, which is called Fast and Reasonably Furious.
Yeah.
I love the title.
Thank you.
So tell us about this show. Do you race cars in your...
I don't. I am one of those unashamedly big fans of that ridiculous franchise.
Because you like it?
Well, because it's so silly and it says what it does on the tin, and it's got more and more ridiculous. There are 10 in the franchise. In fact, the last one is part 1 of 3. Which followed the initial quadrilogy, which was part of the first trilogy with the spin-off in between.
Is this because the guy died?
He died, then he came back, then they were all family. They keep saying they're family, and yet
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, that's right. And Paul Walker the man.
He's the one who died. He baked in his car, right?
That's right.
They cooked him in the car.
It
Do you watch any of this, Candice? Fast and Furious? Have you ever watched any of it? You do.
I enjoy Fast and Furious, and I love what Alan was about to say about they all family. They always family.
Well, Vin Diesel tells you that 200 or 300 times a minute.
I know. We're a family.
And my question is, if they're really about family, why doesn't he drive a Volkswagen Passat? Do you know what I mean? That's a nice station wagon. Yeah. Why in the 2-seaters? That's hardly family orientated.
Like maybe I'm going down a unnecessary rabbit hole
Go
here,
on.
but I've never understood the allure of Vin Diesel.
No, he has somehow insisted on a career despite everything.
He's forced us to watch him. And I just find the guy completely vacuous and stupid. I mean, I'd rather watch Taylor Swift than him, and that's saying something.
She's got a lot of airtime this morning. I love that. Hey?
We've never spoken about anyone this much on a Friday show.
Extraordinary.
It's all Candice's fault.
Yeah, I didn't want to blame anyone. So my idea, I guess, was from last year that everything was a bit mad and furious and we were hanging on wildly. But this idea of being reasonably furious, of course, which is a very white middle class thing, is to be angry, but not too angry.
Just be reasonable.
That's right.
Right.
I'll lodge a complaint, but if nothing happens, then I'll wait till the next time and maybe get another chance.
Those women with the Karen hairstyles going, I don't mind if you get very passionate, but just be reasonable, Alan Committie. Just be reasonable.
And the fact is that as global citizens, of course, we should be angry about everything, poverty and injustice and despotic leaders. But we get upset by things like paddle and padel. How do we pronounce it?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Exactly.
Have you fallen into that trap? It's such a big thing in Cape Town, Candice. Is this something that you've had to force yourself to go to? Paddle?
No. I've had no
You want to talk
interest.
about a satanic cult, paddle? I feel like that's got some kind of strange...
It's very competitive, Alan. I don't know if you've actually been here with the Housewives of Cape Town, but it becomes really like competitive, where like the kind of paddle you carry is your license.
Right.
And they get very upset if you got like a cheap paddle, as they'd look at it, because you're not serious. You're not committed to the sport.
So if I pitched up with like a ping pong bat.
Oh, yeah. No, you'd
they
be
would
ousted.
never let me in.
Never.
Right?
No.
The outrage.
Oh my God! All right. So have you tried this?
I've played it once for purposes of, let's call it research, and it's fun, it's silliness, it's fairly light cardio, and it's with lots of fun people. You have to play in foursomes, don't even, and all of that is, it does what it says on the tin. It's exciting. Having said that, it doesn't justify the kind of cult madness around it. But this is nature of society. We have to find something to focus all our energy into for a short while.
I mean, you both will know, like there was a CrossFit stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Then there was the people who did the obstacle courses.
Right.
Then I'm going to throw Ben into the fire here. He has the cold plunges. And
the Wim Hof, that's right.
Oh my
well,
God,
I turned 50 three and a half weeks ago. And
50?
Yes, sir. And thank you very much. And it's getting to a ridiculous stage now. I'm starting to take life advice from myself, which is a very disappointing thing for anybody to do. But the truth of the matter is, Wim Hof, this is the other craze in Cape Town. Run down to the sewage-infested tidal pools, sit there and pretend you're having, good fun. Someone pointed out the other day, if that's true for all the health benefits you supposedly get from Wim Hof, I think it's boosted immune systems and increased blood circulation. If that's true, that means the passengers on the Titanic, when they're in the icy
water, should have been the fittest of all.
Well, they would have been at their most healthiest, wouldn't they? Just before it all went terribly wrong.
Tits up. Do you watch those people from your apartment, Candice? Those people who go to the pools? Oh my God.
I do. And I was actually almost inducted. Because it's an induction process, right, Alan? Like you get inducted into the cult by a well-meaning person, and they're smiling and they're like, my little Bobby had ADHD, and since the cold plunges, he's been doing great. And I'm like, that's because he's been shivering throughout class. It's just he's not coping. Right.
He's possessed by Baphomet and
it's when they have new terms. Last night, someone in the audience told me, no, it's all very good for you because you learn it's not just breathing, it's tempering, and then you find ways of breathing. And I was like, how many different? You either breathe through your nose or your mouth. Where else are you breathing through?
This is obviously what you comedians do so well, is you guys are able to take dumb stuff the rest of us are doing.
Right.
And you could just have endless material taking the piss out of us. And then when we see you on stage doing it, we suddenly have, because people are so unaware of themselves, right? Suddenly have this moment of reflection where you're like, oh God, that's me.
I do that.
And you either laugh or you cry, and you cry inside a little bit, you know?
I do I've been doing a thing in the show in Cape Town, referencing it as sometimes I sit in a restaurant and I'll listen in on people's conversations. And I think that's quite fun because they're fantastic snippets out there. And there's a lady that I've got to know quite well. She doesn't know me, but we have breakfast at more or less the same time. And I refer to her, I say she's half woman, half horse. She's one of those Constantia, lovely dressage. And she sits down, puts her hoofs on the table, and what's hilarious is when I do this bit in the show, I can see those women going, oh, she sounds awful. And I'm thinking, no, it's you. It is you, which is, kind of delightful.
Do you like as a comedian to see the audience? Because sometimes they make it so difficult to see them from the stage. And I've been on stages before, and when you look out, you can't often see faces at all.
And some theaters have ridiculously low light, so it sits right in your eyes.
But you want to see them.
I absolutely do. And in fact,
you need to read their faces and figure out what's
part of my delight, and this comes back to, I think right now you can stream and watch any comedian from around the world at any time. Back in, you'll remember when we were in 70s, 80s, you got bootlegged kind of.
Don't include me in the 70s. 80s, but not the 70s. Candice is like, what am I doing with these two old men? This is gross.
We used to get, I remember listening to when Bill Cosby cassettes and whatever you could get from the States and the UK. Now you can watch anything everywhere. Yeah. The only thing that makes it different for me, the only selling point I have is the interaction with the crowd. Because the material, you could probably get something equal or equivalent anywhere else.
And they tried to kill that during COVID, but it's back.
It's back. Now it's back with a bang. I have to be able to see my audience. Someone like Mark Lottering, who's just brilliant, he does the other way. Mark will make sure that the lights are absolutely dark. He sometimes tends to kind of close his eyes. When we work with him, Nick Rubinovitz and I will often ask the stage manager in the middle of his set to bring up the house lights to full, and you've not seen a comedian so shook in the middle of any set. He hates it so much. But for me, I have to have that interaction. And it's changed. Back in the day, there used to be a thing of trying to embarrass the audience or get them. It's not that. It really is. It's kind of like what you do. You want to have a chat with the audience, a real chat. So I keep saying to people, don't be shocked. We're here. And there's something you're going to say, and you don't have to plan anything. You don't have to do anything. Just respond. But I promise you, we will create something magical here in the moment, comically.
And therefore, also, every show is different, right?
And that's the delight of this, certainly for the audience, and I think for me as well, because every night you can have the same 90 minutes, but I've over the years really liked that moment of kind of moving between the set and the rehearsed and the improvised, the riffing.
So I don't know if you both have experienced this, but I'm so up to here with people talking about AI.
Yeah,
I've had enough, and I saw that that's one of the things that you cover in this show.
Yeah.
I don't. Candice, are you also sick of people talking about AI?
I think I'm more sick about people pretending to know about AI more than
Yeah,
everyone else.
yeah, right,
Like the
exactly.
AI douchebags who are like, oh, like I know this technology and system, and then they try and educate you on something they've got no idea about. So that's what I'm sick of. The new AI experts, the futurists.
That's exactly the point I make in the show, actually, because as much as there's this huge discourse around the world, is it good for us, and should things be systematized and digitized, or is it in fact robbing us of creativity? My point, I still don't know what the acronym is after chat. Is it chat GTS?
GPT.
Well, you see, I can't remember. If I can't even remember that, that's where I'm at in this level of discourse. It's a disappointment for me.
Don't feel bad.
Is it all right?
It is
okay.
I think some people will be replaced faster than others.
Hope so.
And well, in some cases, couldn't happen. It won't be long before Vin Diesel's replaced by AI.
I think he has been
and
a while
me,
ago.
AI is going to be much smarter than Vin Diesel. That's for sure.
Exactly. The singularity, that's the thing, isn't it? They tell us the moment when the machines become cleverer. I think that's already happened hundreds of years ago.
Hundreds of years
I don't know
ago?
about hundreds of years ago, but it feels like
Which machines? The spinning Jenny?
anything that any machine has got the better of most of us. That's the truth.
Spinning Jenny is smarter than us.
You know, when I'm in a car,
there's our next bit of clickbait for
there
the
we
show
go.
this morning.
There's your headline.
Alan Committie says the spinning Jenny is smarter than most people. It probably is.
Satanic
it's not even so
spinning
wrong.
Jennies.
No.
When I sit in a car and the windscreen fogs up, I still don't know if it's heat or cold that makes it go away. I'm not wrong. No one knows. You just turn all the knobs and close your eyes and drive faster. It works most of the time.
And hope you don't smash into someone. That's exactly right. It's
There we
great.
go.
It's great to be in South Africa. No sense of responsibility. Oh my God. All right. So where's the show? Because people want to know.
We're at Monte Casino at Peter Turin's 400-seater. So that's not the big teatro. It's the other one inside the casino.
But just explain to people, no cars, because they're going to see Fast and Furious.
All right.
And you're suddenly going to have a whole lot of Rajesh in the comments. Hey, man, where's the cars, man?
Yeah.
You know,
So
we don't need
we
that.
talk a little bit about, but really the show is an exploration of all kinds of foibles and madnesses around South Africa. I bring on a motivational speaker because that's the one thing we're blessed with here in Joburg. I think there's 6,417 life coaches per square meter. I think that's in the Constitution now. So you need, because mental health is important, Gareth.
Very important.
Very, very important.
Everyone's so fragile.
So,
mental health.
I do a kind of life coach.
Prince fucking Harry needs mental health help. And that just shows you a spoiled prince.
That's right.
Needs mental health help. And this is the world we've come to.
It's all very depressing.
Remember The Princess and the Pea? There was that, it was like a nursery rhyme stroke fairy tale.
She slept on the mattress with...
You remember that one, Candice? This very precious little princess.
Right.
She could feel, because she was so unbelievably sensitive and precious, she could feel a pea between two of the 17 mattresses that she had on her bed.
Right.
And I always think about that, and I think that's where the mental health crisis started.
Right.
This chick complaining about her 17 mattresses and the pee. The pee in between. I don't remember what happened to her in the story, but she deserved it.
She deserved everything that came her way.
She deserved it.
Oh, gosh.
So someone says here to agree with Candice, AI bros have replaced the Bitcoin bros. Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Right. Spot on. So you called that one as well. All right. So Alan, the glasses have come on. What are you looking for?
Oh no, just looking at the comments. I'm 50 now. I can't see. I need specs. I've got to the point now where I didn't have to wear them all the time, but I think I have to now wear them all the time.
Do you wear them when you drive?
I do.
And when you're looking at screens?
And looking at screens. And now apparently these screens as well. I now wear them. That's that's the breaking
I'm meant
news.
to wear them, but I think it's like giving in to old age. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. No, you must fight it until the last minute.
I'm not going to do it.
And the other irritating things, I went to an optometrist now at the end of last year. This guy kept telling me he's a new kind of specialist I was recommended to, and told me how good he was and 7 years of studying, blah, blah, blah. Ugh. And then I looked into those stupid lens boxes. He just kept going better or worse, better or worse. I thought, well, you studied, you tell me. Why am I doing all the work here?
You don't have to wear glasses, do you, Candice?
I do actually, Gareth. I've been blind
Do
since
you?
I was 9. Yeah, I wear contact lenses. And
I
it's
see.
a
I can never
bad
do the
one.
contact.
It's bad. Like, yeah, Alan, like it's not an old age thing. Like I am on
Thank you.
-7.5
So
or
basically, I mean,
something.
I
which
could
is
I could
terrible.
walk. I could walk into your apartment, be walking around the place, and you'd only
She wouldn't
hear
know.
me. You wouldn't even see me, right?
Yeah.
You'd just hear me
Look.
like breaking things.
Listen, Gareth, if someone robs me in the middle of the night and I don't have time to reach for my glasses, and they could literally just move my glasses. All they have to do is take my contacts and glasses. They could wipe me clean and I wouldn't have a police statement.
Suddenly you're like Stevie Wonder. So
Yeah,
apparently,
I'll
at the Grammys, there's this very funny video. Ryan, see if you can find it. There's a video of Mariah Carey on stage with Stevie Wonder. And Stevie is like holding the mic for her,
Yeah.
but she doesn't pay any attention. He's just left holding this mic, and he doesn't realize
And
Mariah
moving
Carey's
around.
She's
moved
not
over
near
to
it.
She's on his left,
Yeah.
so she's not even sure like that he's paying attention. He can't see her obviously because he's fucking blind. And Mariah Carey just doesn't give a shit. She is not the kind of person you would want in your life if you had a disability. She would not be helpful.
No.
Mariah, I don't get any sense that Mariah Carey would care for anybody with a disability.
No.
She wouldn't push
No.
your wheelchair as
Almost.
far as it
She wouldn't care for anybody. I think we should probably just stop
probably
there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey makes so much money out of Christmas. That woman, she doesn't have to work the rest of the year. Unbelievable.
Can I just say that during my festive season, my niece invited me to a nativity play. I don't know when last you've had to go.
Was this a school
Nativity play. It was 4 hours.
How old's your niece?
8 or 9.
Oh my God! And you
It was
sat through
about
that?
4 hours long. I think they played out the birth of Jesus in real time.
But hang on.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't have children, but I've got nephews.
Yes. No, likewise.
And I've been invited to these things.
Yeah.
But I'm smart enough to know not to go.
Oh, no. And normally I would, but there's only so many years that you can get away with
Were
it.
you
At some point,
trapped? Did they force you? Would they guilt you
if
into
we're
it?
not going to see you, and then you're gone, and then he'll be 14, and then he'll graduate, and at some point
So
you just
what?
go, all right, that's fine, let's do
You
it.
know the story of Jesus. What do you have to go and watch some kids doing an amateur performance for?
When I was in a school nativity, I played him Joseph as Joseph Stalin. It was a very avant-garde production.
You're dressed. So as Joseph, the father of Jesus, you dressed as Stalin.
Well,
You thought
it got us room at the inn, with a carefully placed conversation.
He
Anything's
said, I
possible.
will send you to Kolkos farm.
Suddenly we've got a room. Yeah,
They were they kulaks.
that's right.
That you
Exactly.
chased out of the barn. Suddenly you got room at the inn. Unbelievable. Have you ever had to go to these kids' shows?
I hate that I actually like it. Like, I think it's sweet.
Oh,
I wouldn't
no.
sit 4 hours. I would not sit 4 hours. But I think the trick is to have a well-planned excuse prior to going. So I will always go to my friends, kids, things.
Oh
but I'll
my God,
always
you're
be like,
a,
You're a
my
saint,
God.
yeah.
No. But I'll always say something like, oh my gosh, I've only got 30 minutes, but it's on my way to where I'm
that's
actually
good.
going.
Clever.
Oh, you got an
So
exit
I will
plan.
have to sneak
Clever.
out. And then
Yeah.
I'll always leave. I'm never there at the end, but I'm always there at the beginning. So that's how
That's
I
very
do it.
smart. Yeah.
That's the title of your
So
autobiography.
you sat for 4 hours. You
Well,
sat for 4 hours?
I might be comically exaggerating that a little bit, but it felt like 4 hours, certainly.
Okay, I've got to show you this video of
Go on.
Mariah Carey. And this is so great with Stevie Wonder. Just take a look at this. So Stevie grabs the mic. Now he's holding it up for Mariah.
About what just happened. Does anybody realize that this is Stevie Wonder?
Did you realize it was Stevie Wonder, you bitch? Huh?
She's pointing the wrong way. He's on the other side. The microphone's in a different place.
Oh,
Real
I
life
think the
is
fact
funny,
that
man.
The fact that Stevie thought he was speaking into the mic initially, and he's just
Yeah.
standing there like just doing his thing. And then someone has to push his hand back like, no, she's gone.
You know,
Please.
he used to know what he was doing because he always would just bob around
That's
the
right.
microphone. So he'd get, isn't she lovely?
Yeah. A natural
Isn't
mix.
she wonderful? And then he'd get a good kind of zone around the microphone. But Clearly, he's lost that in old age. So it's not just you who can't see anymore.
No, that's
Candice who can't see anymore.
Ugh.
So Stevie Wonder can't see at all.
At all.
Right. Be grateful for small mercies.
Always.
You greedy bastards. All right. So listen, I just want to talk about this. You bought a bag of cement to fill the 6 potholes outside your Airbnb. Is that a true? Is that
No,
a true
that's
story?
not true. But
Really?
no, it's not a true story at all. It's always lovely to come back. I grew up in Joburg, although in fact I didn't. I grew up in Vanderbijl Park.
Oh,
I know.
terrific.
And then to come back to Joburg, every time I visit you, I now live in Cape Town. I got to be.
I just admitted to that.
I know.
Vanderbijl Park.
It'd be lovely when they finish it. Honestly, now it's become much like kind of Midrand and Pretoria. It's all one now.
No,
So,
Vanderbijl Park's got that enormous industrial plant
Yes.
in it that I don't know what that thing does except pump fumes into the atmosphere.
that's exactly why
It's
it's
got
there.
actual flames that come out of one of the towers.
Yes.
It's probably like the real life Mordor, right? I mean, like your Lord of the Rings Mordor. Have
Right.
you ever driven past Vanderbijl Park on your way somewhere beyond Vanderbijl Park? Because no
You-
one goes to that.
No.
place.
No.
Don't you grow up with lung conditions then, no matter
Correct.
what?
It's
Yeah.
between that and Vereniging. Well, it's the Val Triangle, very similar to, what happened to the triangle, the Bermuda Triangle? No one talks about that anymore.
Or the Val Triangle.
The
is
Val
even
Triangle
worse.
is much worse.
There's still
Exactly.
people who've gone missing in the Val Triangle. Jesus.
Yeah,
So that was where you grew up.
that's where I grew up, and then moved to Cape Town, and then backwards and forwards between. So coming back to Joburg every kind of couple of months,
How's your mental health if you came from Vanderbijl Park?
non-existent. Well, with that, I have resilience. Nothing can get to me.
Wow.
I know.
So potholes, they have a big problem in that part of the country with potholes because they don't even have a municipality, as far as I can tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's just what's left of the road now. I mean,
Right. Right.
oh, there's a piece of road. I don't think people listen. And Joburg. Listen, driving here this morning, there was one intersection that worked, only one. And I know that everyone in Joburg knows this, and it's
Yeah.
boring news. But it is a little surprising when you come back and you just get shocked back into, oh, okay, and everyone's fine with it. We just kind of do it, and it's kind of exciting. It's Wild West stuff.
Well, Hugh has a problem with you. He says,
Go.
imagine fixing a tar road with concrete. What are you, insane?
Yeah. Oh man, you've called me out now.
Stanele says the Vaal River is disgusting now.
Is it?
Has it ever not been? Oh, I heard a horrible story this week. I don't even know if I can talk about
Bermuda
this.
Triangle.
No,
like that.
I heard about some dude who'd committed suicide, and so he drowned himself or whatever. And then the police went searching for his body. They found him and 7 other people who no one had said were missing.
Boy.
Yeah, 7 bodies, 8 altogether that they found there. How's that? There's 8 people that just went missing and nobody bothered to tell anyone.
Yikes. There it is.
So this is the Vaal water that you drink from your tap, by the way. Fresh with some nicely newly dunked bodies in it. And who knows what the state of decomposition there must have been, but that's pretty gross.
Wim Hof method must be tricky there.
Oh, my God. Someone says here, USA has Stevie Wonder. We have Steve Kakana. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's great. I love it when people out themselves publicly. Do they realize that your family will never believe you again, says Norman.
Norman,
in terms of-
you get to a point where you don't care. Like you just don't care. Like I think your friends who've got kids or your friends in general already know that you just showing up is a miracle.
Yeah.
So like they indulge you as you tell them that, oh, I've got somewhere else to be, but they know you have nowhere else to be.
Oh.
You're going straight home. They're just happy you're there.
It's like it's one of those white lies. Everybody's in on it. Nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
There's no victim of the crime. You just want to get out of something. I've often said to people, I've got to go somewhere just because I'm not having fun where I am.
And people know that you don't have to go, but they'll
Sure.
accept it because it's just better for everyone. Don't argue. Don't make it a thing.
Yeah. And the thing
You
is, it's kind of like
don't-
ordering your Uber before you leave an event, and then you just say your quick goodbyes, and you're like, and they're like, "Stay, please, just one more drink." And
You're
you're
like,
like,
no,
"Oh
no,
my
no,
gosh,
no.
my Uber's
My
outside."
Uber's
Oh,
already here.
Can't let him
He's
down.
like 5 minutes away. I can't, you know? Yeah, God forbid you
can't
should
let
let
him
the
down.
Uber wait. Yeah. No, you're going to get a terrible 4-star rating. Listen, these Uber ratings are a big thing, hey? I know,
Are they still though?
yeah, I know someone who he cannot get an Uber anytime. anywhere.
What-
They won't pick him up. They see his rating and they're like, nah, this guy's dodgy. I'm not going to pick him up.
Have you
Like
ever
that.
Now I
had
wanna
conversations in
know.
Uber? Because I just don't.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
I always talk to the Uber drivers. They're fascinating.
I'm sure you can have
I've
a
even-
great conversation.
I
but-
invited the one Uber driver who took me to the show one morning because my car was in for a service or something. So this guy brought me in and I took him onto the show and we spoke for an hour and a half. In fact, on Saturday night, I went to that concert with Maroon 5 and Keen and everybody else. On the way back with the Uber driver, I said to him, you must pick up some very interesting people because I'd arranged with this guy to drop us off and then to fetch us again afterwards because otherwise it would have been a disaster, right? You know what concerts are like. So he says to me, yeah, he picks up lots of interesting people. So I said, what about the Magoshas? So he said, yeah, the Magoshas. No. So the Magoshas, he picks them up and he says, he picks them up from these very big houses in like Bryanston and Santon and, you know, and then he takes them back to where they live. I said to him, where did they live? Where did the Magoshas live? He's like, nah, they live in flats mostly. But I said to him, how can you tell they're Magoshas? He says, no, well, it's the outfits. You know, they've got the high heels and the clear heels and the very short skirts. And I thought it was fascinating. I love talking to those guys. They will tell you way more than you'll get from any analyst on the television. Honestly.
It's interesting because in the show, one of the things I talk about is how everyone's got great stories. I mean, your whole career is predicated on this, is chatting to people and listening. And it might not always be things that you want to hear or opinions that you agree with.
I just talk to Uber drivers about Magoshas. What are you talking about?
You got your gold right there.
Oh, that's all I got.
Fair enough.
But I really, there's material there. There's a gold mine there, Alan. You should speak to them.
All right.
You ignore them?
No, I don't ignore them. I'm just saying that there used to be a thing, if you don't talk, that would affect your rating. You've got to make conversation. And I just think you read it. If anybody talks to me, of course I won't be rude, and then you can engage in interesting conversation. But if we both choose to be quiet, I take so many red-eye flights and you sit.
No, I get you.
You don't want at 5:45.
Don't feel you have to explain.
Thank you.
You don't owe me any explanation.
I've still got a 5-star rating with you.
You've lived half a century. You're allowed to have your opinion. Okay.
All right. And I do.
So the same Uber driver was telling me about these Magoshas, right? And he says he had this very sad situation where this hooker, he picked her up here in Joburg and he had to take her to some Nigerian dude and he knew it was a Nigerian dude because he heard the accent. And this Nigerian dude canceled her. He changed his mind about the hooker halfway to Pretoria and canceled her Uber because he'd booked it for her. So she started crying in the back and he then felt out of the goodness of his heart, or maybe he got some recompense. Whatever. There's a way to pay, I suppose, if you don't have money. But this poor Magosha in the back of the Uber, and she was pleading with him. She was saying, please don't cancel on me. At least let me have the Uber ride home. And he was like, no, I'm not going to pay for anything. And cut her off. And that was the end of it. I mean, these are these are terrible stories.
This feels like a pitch for a new Showmax,
I think,
series.
Uber drivers and Magoshas is a whole subject.
Beautiful.
Candice is frozen, either in terror or because she's had enough.
That's a great pick.
Your picture's just frozen. I don't know what's going on there.
I feel like I'm frozen.
Yeah, look at you. It is.
Yeah,
you are. You're frozen.
Okay,
all right, listen, we got to. Yeah, no, we got to wrap up the show anyway, so don't panic about it. Listen, Candice, it's been such a pleasure to have you here, and I'm so sorry you had to sit through my rant about Cyril Ramaphosa for 20 minutes. You're such an angel, and you sit and humor me, and you laugh, but I know deep down inside you're thinking, "Fuck, please stop." So thanks, appreciate that.
Never.
I love you to pieces. Be good, Candice. We'll chat to you soon. All right.
Thank you. So good being here, Gareth. Cheers.
Love you, my darling. Bye-bye. And Alan Committie, we can see you at the Peter Turin Monte Cassino Theatre. Tickets at Web Tickets from the 7th of February until the 3rd of March. So it's on right now.
It's on right now. We do Wednesdays to Saturday, 2 shows on Saturday, Sunday matinee. Yeah, all good.
Get there. Do it ASAP. All right. Thank you so much.
Always
sir.
a pleasure.
What a pleasure to see you, and good luck with the show. We'll catch you soon. Come in and visit us again. It's always nice to see you. All right. That's it for us. We will see you on Monday. Bye, everybody.